Someone put on Instagram that Tim Dillon's video where he was saying that Michelle Obama should run for president. If she won, she could pull her cock out and China would just give up. I was wheezing. I couldn't breathe. Big Mike.
Everything seemed to be going fine. Michelle Obama was gliding through interviews, tossing around inspiration like confetti and reminding the world she's America's favorite former First Lady. Then, out of nowhere, Joe Rogan and Jesse Waters stormed in like two bulls in a kale smoothie shop. Rogan hit with raw honesty, Waters followed with biting sarcasm, and suddenly Michelle's polished image cracked wide open. What did they reveal? Whatever it wasn't on her PR calendar, and now it's all over the internet.
So, President dies, everyone in the world shows up, and she doesn't break her vacation? It's not like she doesn't have access to a jet. Something is going on. Let's speculate.
Yes, please.
It's either surgery.
Oh.
That was my least controversial thing.
Depends what kind of surgery.
She will not sit close to the dictator. And by that, I don't mean Hillary, I mean Donald Trump. Or there's trouble in paradise between Barack and Michelle. I've heard things. I'm not going to substantiate that by repeating these rumors on national TV like I just did. But I'm just saying it's very odd that she's...
Michelle stood on camera with a straight face and claimed her parents never aspired to wealth, that they only took what they needed. Apparently, need now includes an $11.75 million Martha's Vineyard mansion, private chefs, six-figure speaking gigs, a Netflix production deal, and a book contract so large it could cover the national deficit. All while she sips from a golden goblet beneath a chandelier and tells us about her humble beginnings.
But Michelle wants you to remember it wasn't the Obama-Biden White House. It was the Barack and Michelle White House. Listen to how she uses the words we.
I'm so proud of my husband and the way he led, the way his administration worked, the team that we built. So proud of everyone. I think that's because of who we are.
Did she just forget to mention Joe Biden? Michelle, as your husband said, you didn't build that. But if I were Joe Biden, I don't know who I'd fear more, Trump or her.
Joe Rogan nearly short-circuited hearing that. The man who's interviewed astronauts, survivalists, and conspiracy theorists sat there baffled at how someone worth more than most rap icons could still be applauded for relating to everyday people. Rogan's used to hearing wild things, UFO sightings, elk meat diets, psychedelic journeys, but this one broke his logic.
Michelle Obama's speech on day 2 of the DNC was a masterclass in irony.
She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
The Obamas have a combined net worth of $70 million and they own a bunch of property.
Jesse Waters wasn't buying it either. He took one look at Michelle's podcast, the one no one listens to unless their contract says they have to, and called it out. It didn't sound like empowerment, it sounded like a therapy session wrapped in branding. She wasn't uplifting the audience, she was venting about her marriage in high definition. Waters even joked Spotify might owe itself a refund after airing it.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as... Like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like, you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
Let's take a stroll through Michelle's greatest contradictions. She claims to be apolitical and above the fray, a moral compass for the nation. Yet every time a Democrat hits a rough patch, she's magically on stage before CNN finishes saying we need help. She's not just involved, she's the emergency backup plan with designer heels.
Primetime been wondering where Michelle Obama's been. She snubbed both Jimmy Carter's funeral and Trump's inauguration. And last week, Barack went to a basketball game all by himself. Turns out Michelle's been busy working on a new podcast, and so far, it's been a flop. The first 2 episodes have been up all day and only gotten a few thousand views on YouTube. Half of them were probably primetime producers. But still, Michelle's spilling the family secrets, like how Barry gets on her nerves.
And then there's the podcast again, billed as a soulful journey of personal growth. In reality, it was 45 minutes of name-dropping, therapy buzzwords, and vague activism. The kind of content that made New York Times writers weep tears of approval. Waters torched it on Fox, calling it the most expensive diary entry in history. And he wasn't wrong. Michelle even took shots at Barack, her kids, and her own mother. Regular folks go to therapy for that. Michelle hits record and Monet-izes it.
Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died. When
Was that a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's a man.
Like,
remember that?
Yeah, like, would Big Mike kill you for that?
Then came the Netflix special, Becoming. For someone so reluctant to return to the spotlight, Michelle Shaw arrived with full makeup teams, wardrobe changes, and a multi-million-dollar camera crew. All for a woman who keeps saying, I'm just like you. Sure, if you can turn a book tour into a stadium concert with fireworks. Rogan was stunned. He can handle alien conspiracies and corrupt pharma, but Michelle preaching anti-wealth messages from inside a mansion finally broke him.
Barack, he had to adjust to what on time was.
Because he was on that island time.
Well, but, I've got this husband who's like, when it's time to leave, it's 3 o'clock, he's getting up and going to the bathroom.
Michelle says her husband doesn't really like people, doesn't know how to talk to him, and doesn't even really care.
Let's not forget her obsession with moral authority. Michelle doesn't talk, she preaches. Every speech sounds like it's directed at the misbehaving kids in detention, except the audience is full of adults trying to pay rent. She drops words like empathy, equity, and unity like she just invented them in a lab made of lavender and dreams. Meanwhile, her events have ticket prices that could fund a community center.
Got it.
No, Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny how she said it.
Okay, we all know.
Jesse Waters nailed the punchline. Michelle isn't a leader, she's a luxury brand in heels. She's a multi-million-dollar enterprise posing as a guidance counselor. Her version of hardship? A delayed private jet. She only shows up politically when Democrats are panicking, walking on stage like a Marvel superhero with gospel music blaring. When they go low, we go high now sounds more like when they go low, we sell another memoir.
Michelle has a Netflix special with Oprah, and when Oprah taps you, that means it's your time. The Obamas know that. It was Oprah who was the first big name to support Barry's run for the White House. So what does this mean? Well, for one, it means Michelle has another book, and she wants the world to know it's her world now. That she, not Barack, is the real star.
Then there's the school lunch legacy. Remember when she tried to reform cafeteria food? Kids started trading broccoli like contraband. Rogan joked that Michelle turned cafeterias into black markets. Apple slices were sparking protests, and students were writing letters in ketchup. All this while her own daughters were in elite private schools. Nothing wrong with that, but maybe don't shame middle-class parents about public education while arriving in a motorcade.
Right now, Michelle is having her Hillary moment. Barry had his 8 years, so Michelle's demanding her time to shine. Michelle's on a roll, and now she's center stage.
The woman who needs no introduction for real, Michelle Obama!
Her latest TV appearance was pitched as raw and emotional. Translation? Another scripted moment where Michelle stares at the camera and whispers something vague like, "Sometimes I just get tired of being admired," and Twitter explodes with praise. Meanwhile, people working 2 jobs to afford gas are wondering how hard life can be in a $6,000 dress. Rogan called it spiritual cosplay, a performance of humility with a production team behind it. Her brand is curated authenticity with a built-in spotlight.
Normally, when someone rags on their spouse, there's usually a little love. Like, Jimmy, he never listens, but he looks cute in his suit. But that wasn't cute. Did she drop this podcast to distance herself from Barack so she could run for president? Every politician starts a podcast right before they launch their next campaign. Looking at you, Gavin.
And here's the uncomfortable truth. Michelle Obama isn't some reluctant icon, she's the architect of a myth. A polished persona designed to sell books, fill arenas, and prep for a political comeback without ever admitting it. Rogan called her the Louis Vuitton of politics, expensive, admired, and mostly empty inside. Waters brought the receipts. Her ideas weren't being attacked, her image was. And that's what made it dangerous. Because when wealth gets packaged as struggle, and privilege poses as pain, the satire writes itself.